What is up, guys? Erica here from Highway 49RC. Thank you so much to my patrons and channel members for making this video possible. So what are we doing today? This marks the start of something pretty crazy. I've got an old POS Rustler that my boyfriend Brian gave to me. This used to be his Rustler when he was a kid. And it's certainly seen better days. It was nitro, it's missing a shock, wheels. I mean, this thing needs some serious TLC. And it's also covered in Phillips screws. We're definitely going to have to do something about that. I was like, okay, what am I going to do with a Rustler? You know, I could have it be just sort of like a old school rig that I run my brushed motors in. Great, which is probably what I'll do after this project. Or we could put some rockets on it. Yeah! Or we could put some freaking rockets on it and call it the Rocket Rustler. Oh, yeah. So that's the plan. We're going to put some rockets on a Rustler and we're going to have some fun. I've got 4 different sizes of rockets in that ammo can there that we're going to be experimenting with later in the series. You may also be asking, okay, well, what body are you going to put on it? I tell you what, right here, I just so happen to have a 1964 Chevy Impala body from Red Cat. You know who else put rockets on a 1967 Chevy Impala? The Mythbusters. Yeah. So I'm doing a Mythbusters JATO rocket car tribute build. Yes. That's the whole scoop right there. So if you're not familiar with the Myth, some guy found a jet-assisted takeoff rocket, strapped it to the top of his Chevy Impala, took off across the desert, hit a bump or something, and supposedly launched himself into the side of a mountain and got stuck there. It didn't happen. Mythbusters tested it. What the Mythbusters did is they took 3 N motors and strapped it to the top of a 67 Chevy Impala. Now the rocket motors I'm going to be putting on my Chevy Impala are half A's. They used N motors. Those things are like this big. They're freaking huge. So with that, let's take a closer look at some of the other parts I've got laying around for this thing, and we will jump right into it. The main goal of today's episode is to get the poor old Rustler back on the road again. So I've got some fresh wheels and tires for it for the rear, got some batteries, got a Futaba receiver. I've got a Sidewinder 4 ESC from Castle coming in tomorrow, so that'll be sweet. I've got parts to build a drivetrain disconnect. So basically what that'll allow me to do is disconnect the motor from the drivetrain and allow us to be under full rocket power. I've also got a spur gear. This is a Steel Robinson Racing spur that I've had since my Yeti days, actually. I've got some hinge pins, some shoulder screws, miscellaneous hardware bits there. Got a fresh rear shock tower and some fresh screws and bearings for this thing, which is the first thing that we're going to be tackling. I am going to get rid of all the Phillips screws on this thing because I hate Phillips screws with a burning passion. And I'm not going to work on this project if I have to deal with stinking Phillips head screws. Absolutely not. I still don't know what motor I'm going to use yet, but I am going to have to make a custom motor mount for this thing because obviously this was nitro before and we're converting it to electric. But there's also going to be that drivetrain disconnect in here somewhere, as I mentioned. So this whole area is going to be interesting. It's going to be kind of up in the air. So with that, I say we hop into a time lapse and get all this Phillips hardware replaced. My workbench has become an absolute disaster. I don't know how this happens, but it does. So anyway, I'm about halfway through doing the cleanup and rebuild. I decided to actually wash a bunch of the parts, use a little bit of soapy water, and it's cleaning up really, really nice. I'm super happy with it so far. Next up for me is to tear apart the transmission, get that all cleaned up, replace the bearings in it if I can, and then finish putting the rear end of the car back together. Real quick guys, I want to enlighten you on how to deal with blind transmission case bearings, such as this one. Basically, blind bearing means you can't push it out from the other side like you can on this outdrive one. So get yourself a piece of coat hanger or welding wire and hammer it flat and then make a little hook out of it. And then you can get underneath that bearing and pop it right out. Guys, check it out. She's a roller. Yes, I got the rear end all put back together, threw some Power Stroke shocks on there just for now. I don't know if I'm going to keep those or not. Got new bearings in the transmission, fresh grease, fresh differential oil. I did decide to keep the mechanical brake here behind the spur gear just because I think it's cool and it'd be an interesting little touch and something different for this rig. I glued up the new rear tires. I re-glued the front tires, got them all cleaned up nice, and she's looking pretty good. So I'm gonna call this one here. I know it's a little bit short, but it's a great stopping point for next episode where we're gonna build the drivetrain disconnect for this thing. We got a lot done today, got this all cleaned up nicely, and it's looking much, much better than it did. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to those that tuned into the live stream where we replaced all the hardware on this also. That was a great time. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to support me and the channel, consider becoming a channel member or joining my Patreon. If you want to chat with me and other fellow RC enthusiasts, head over to my Discord server. We're always talking about great stuff over there. We've got some awesome builders. And if you want to keep up with what I'm doing, Instagram is a great place at highway49_RC. And I think that covers it, guys. Thanks again so much for watching, and I will see y'all on the next one.